boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. We've had a little hiatus here the last couple weeks with all the ice on Truman Lake. I've got my good buddy, Jeff Falconberry. Jeff, your camera kind of, there you go.
There.
We're doing a video. He's got a makeshift fishing pole holding his phone up so we can do this live while he's on the lake. Jeff, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. It's sun shining, snow's gone, and it's warmed up enough to get out here on the water.
Yeah, it sure doesn't seem like a bad day to be on the water. It's not too, the weather seems pretty darn good down where I'm at. So tell us about, I guess, what you're seeing on the lake conditions right now.
Well, as for Truman, there's starting to be a little bit of open water showing up around the bridges. The pillars, are warming up the water around there. So there's around the bridges when you get on the Upper Grand or down around U Highway or even down around Long Shoal, it's starting to open up around the bridges, mile-long bridge down in there. Holes are starting to open up out on the main lake, but we haven't had any big wind all week long really to open that up. And it looks like maybe this weekend we'll get some decent wind Sunday or Monday and maybe get some of that opened up. But the sunshine's definitely helping. And instead of the ice getting washed out, it's just slowly rotting and starting to sink. But any areas where there's current, the river down below the dam has been opening up with the water they've been running in the mornings down there. The Osage River, the Sac River, up where I'm at right now, is all open. You got to find a good ramp to put in. Crow's Crossing at Osceola it's inaccessible due to silt and the river being low. But you can put in off of 82 and in town in Osceola and some of those smaller ramps there to get out on the river. Water temperature is 37.9 is what I'm showing. I haven't been out here very long. Not a lot of bait to be found. Richard Bowling was actually up the Sac. Him and I both put in on the river today, checking out two different areas, and he didn't find nothing. He's actually pulling his boat out now. He said he spent a couple hours up there messing around. Said he didn't hardly see any crappie, no white bass, and no shad, just a lot of carp and gar. And so he's pulling out and going to go try another area. So right now I just got set up. I did find very, very few shad, a few, enough to put a few poles out and see what happens. I just got these rods out, and then we got on the call here. So that's why I keep turning around kind of looking because I just got these out. Mark some fish.
Yeah, fish for us while we're on video.
Yeah, that'd be all right. The outside bends of the river is holding some good fish in the deeper holes. By outside bend, anywhere the river makes a bend on the outside, it seems to be where these fish are. Marked a few catfish, a lot of spoonbill.
Yeah,
there's a lot of spoonbill in these deep holes and a lot of gar. And but I just put some poles out and going to see what happens for a few minutes.
Heck yeah. So I think I haven't checked the weather for a couple days. I thought we saw there might be some rain on Sunday as well, which that could help the ice. I don't know if that's still in the forecast.
Yeah, that wouldn't hurt a thing at all. A little bit of rain. Of course, as muddy as we are after this snow, it's
right.
It's not fun, but it would sure help with the process. Yeah. I would say, if I was going to guess, I would say by the middle of next week, everything will be pretty much open. If I was just guessing.
Yeah. Well, I know there's a lot of folks that have been shut in. They're real excited to hear that. So let's keep our fingers crossed. So with that in mind, I mean, are you going to be chasing catfish here for the next month or crappie, or what are your plans?
Both. I've got a book full solid every day. You know what? We'll have one day crappie and next day catfish, two crappie. It just a good mix for me. A lot of crappie fishing. We got a lot of crappie fishing coming up in March. Those pre-spawn females is going to be really, really good. So yeah.
When the ice comes off, I mean, what do you expect the fish to be doing on the crappie and catfish on the main lake?
Yeah, they'll be fishing. I'm going to fish two ways. The creeks will open last, which is where I'll want to get is back in those creeks and coves. But the main channel swings on the big shad balls, if all the shad didn't die. The main channel swings are going to be really, really good until those creeks open up, and then I'll start getting back in those creeks.
Gotcha. Well, It sounds like a pretty good forecast. I know we're all real excited, and hopefully you'll pull a few fish out while you're there. So Richard couldn't find any crappie. Where's he? Do you know where he's going to try to go look at all? Is he heading further up or I guess down the river?
Man, I don't know. He was going to go try to look around and see if maybe further up the river or down the river, or maybe on the Ozark side. He was getting in a truck with the trailer on. We've
Yeah.
been talking every day, just trying to find something. Cody has been driving around, trying to get. We all got books of clients and livings to make, and people want to fish, and it's not just us. We want to get our clients out and have a good time. All of us guys, we book so far in advance that these people have had trips on the book since last year, and
Right.
man, it hurts to cancel them. And not the money per se, but just we've looked forward to fishing with them as they have us, and it stinks to have to cancel trips. So all of us are trying to scramble and try to get on something where we can get people out in the boat.
Will you be trying to do any doubles, or is that kind of hard to pull off?
Yeah, I mean, if we can, if everything works right, and some people that I've had to cancel over the last week and a half or so, I'll try to get them in somewhere for sure,
Hmm.
um, on the water.
That's awesome. Well, we're really excited to get back into the fishing reports and staying in touch with everything that's going on Truman. At this point, you'd probably say, I know some of the ice was fairly thick up in the upper parts of the lake. Is there any safe ice at all? Not that I would recommend anyone doing any ice fishing, but I know I saw some photos of some folks trying some stuff. Is
Yeah,
it like a complete no go now?
no, yeah, it's a no go now. It's absolutely 100% no go. The ice, like again said, is it's starting to rot,
Yeah.
and the sun, starts to make it really mushy, and it gets mushy, and it may be 7, or I think Dylan measured some the other day that was still 7 inches thick, but it was real mushy on top. And what it'll do is it'll get real mushy and it'll heavy, and it'll start to sink.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, right. No, there's no ice to access for ice fishing now. It's all pretty well over with.
It seems like the upper parts of the lake, each year you get a week of cold and it might start to freeze. But when was the last time you saw the entire lake freeze up like this?
I've seen it freeze up, not like this.
Yeah.
I've seen it up, but not thick like this kind of freeze up.
Right.
I just it glaze over the whole thing, but never, 4 inch plus thick ice, pretty well over the whole shebang. That was a pretty good storm. I was fortunate to be in
Yeah.
Florida for it, but that was some severe cold. One thing I noticed out here on the river today, that kind of cold is obviously hard on people, but it's also hard on Mother Nature. And one thing I've noticed out here today is there's a lot of dead pelicans. I bet I've seen 10 dead pelicans.
Really?
Whether coyotes were catching them out on the ice, because they had no water to swim in, or whatever, to roost,
Mhm.
or what the deal was. If you really pay attention, there's dead pelicans all the way up and down. I bet I've seen 10 of them in a half a mile.
Wow. Yeah, that's fascinating. That's too bad. It is kind of funny. My dad, he loves to feed the birds behind the house there at Mahoney HQ. And he's last week or whenever it was so cold. They were so hungry and frozen that they were letting him walk right up to the feeder with them just sitting there on the ground, and they would
Yeah.
not leave. Like you said, it's hard on Mother Nature. I'm hopeful we're not going to go find a bunch of dead deer this weekend when we start looking for sheds on our place, and because those deer have a hard time too.
My wife actually noticed some small songbirds around our place that were dead, just
Hmm.
out in the yard. I'm sure just froze to death. I talked to Johnny Everhart the other day, and he'd actually picked up some songbirds and warmed them up until they'd flown away. Uh,
Wow.
and I talked to another friend that had found a duck, a ruddy duck, just right next to their driveway, and he said
Hmm.
it was just couldn't hardly function. Um, we had some mallards and a lot of geese hitting by our house when we got home from Florida, and I rode the side by side out there, and those things were so cold and hungry I could ride right up to them. They were just
Wow.
tame ones almost. So
Yeah.
I got home from Florida, I actually opened my pond up so they would have some open water,
Uh-huh.
ice ripper. So
Well, hopefully, hopefully we're at a turning point. We don't see any other crazy Mother Nature, but we know how Missouri is. It's like the fall, spring, and then the second winter that comes that we see so often here in the States. So, but we'll keep our fingers crossed that's not what happens. It's going to be a muddy mess out on the farms, but hopefully things will pick up right where we left off once this ice comes off, and folks will be out there catching a lot of fish. So. Um,
we'll sure take some mud over all that other junk.
No kidding. No kidding. Well,
Water temp back up, and these fish get this shad kill cleaned up and stuff like that. Look for it to be a pretty good spring.
heck yeah. Well, we're looking forward to it. Looking forward to a lot more fishing reports. Thanks a bunch for joining, and we'll catch you here real soon.
All right, bud. We'll talk to you soon.